So let's get into AmpLocker. Let's check out the layout.
We're going to talk about the interface real quick here to set up your audio and your MIDI. For example, mine is the SSL and blah, blah. You have an input, a gate, and a calibrator input. It's just like the Harry Benson listening to. Probably, the idea is the same. I don't know. So when you go to calibrate, so you see that the volume now changed by itself. You have the pedals in the front of them, the amps to push them, and you have the post effects after it. It's a dramatic change in the last 6 months for Audio Assault. They are full-on assault with the technology of capturing and stuff like that. I think all companies are going to get to the point where they will all provide pitch shifting, stereo shaping of your sim. There's a stereo effect here, for example. As you go across the top, like I just showed you with the calibrating, you got a tuner, you got the MIDI, you got the presets, okay? You can also ignore what you have up here with the presets, because that could remain throughout all the presets you're trying. Like the HQ will give more sampling resolution to anything you pick. If I put this, for example, if I put this stereo thing on, I'll show you what it sounds like before. You have this stereo. So, you know, if you want that, like Zach Wild, maybe. And then you have, of course, the manual here and some stuff on this side where you can import, download, activate licenses and all that stuff. You have the input and the output basically up here. But what's interesting is when you drag your mouse lower, you see that there's a default in the input and the output as well. But that's for the sim. That is for the sim's own presets. Okay? You can have a bunch of really main default presets of your sim. Let's say a good clean sound, and you can swap it with another clean amp. So let's say, for example, I'm going to go here, Fender amp, okay? I have these effects in front of the Fender amp, kind of like Eric Johnson, where okay, so you can do all this like fusion stuff with this, and so let's say I wanted to swap it. Listen to what the amp sounds like without the effect. This is the actual amp. I have all these pedals off now. All right, it's just a clean amp. You barely hear it. Okay, I'll go to the next preset. Okay, and I look at the effects and I shut them off again. It's like nothing. Okay, you can change. Okay, so as far as the interface goes now, if you go down here, you get the levels in, levels out. You have your effects section. Okay, in your effects section, you have the choice of all these, buy them or not, and your favorites up here. Of course, you can see the ones I own, the ones I don't own are grayed out. So you could also go into this area now and save presets and reload presets like that. Okay. So now I'm going to change the amp, but not the pedals. Okay. But I wanted to keep these effects and these post effects. And let me change the speakers. Mr. Marshall, 1960s here, and see. All right, whatever. So now I'm going to go here, and I got delays and everything. I go back to the amp. Now, if I want to change the amp, I go to the amp section. Okay, so I got the ModiFIRE here, but I've saved a clean setting that I like, the second one, I think. That is the first one. And if I shut off the pedals, you can hear what it sounds like now. Shut up all the pedals, then just double click there. That's it, you know? I go back to the amp and I can go to another clean sound. This is a clean one. I'll go clean two. So you see it's a clean sound. Okay, now I turn on all the effects. Like I said before, these are my favorite Sims of the Marshall line. And these are all my favorite pedals, and these are favorite post effects. And you can see I like dynamic effects and everything to be up on, you know, peak levels and stuff like that. So listen to these tracks and compare, and you can download the files if you want as well. Now, I'm by no means perfect. Everybody has their own thing. So there will be mistakes. You're welcome to go ahead and, you know, say something in the comments, suggest anything you want. The goal here is to share anyway, you know. We want to share this stuff and get on with our lives, you know, so we can find things we need and make music. So this is the Audio Assault website here. Okay. You have AmpLocker, MixLocker, and some notable artists. They're very reputable for high gain amps. But I would not discourage people into blues, ambient music to check this out because they have made some enormous advances since we went from Kemper to IR captures, and everybody has them. The main notable thing about this sim is that they've been moving all the amps into AmpLocker. The prices are really, really low for basic amps that have really good voices, in fact. And of course, the other sims are the market value of full suites. Now, I got some of these. I also got some of the MixLocker. Okay, so anyway, so when you're going to buy individually, you get to see what comes with it. And this is where it gets really interesting. So, for example, you get a bunch of really good sims. You know, this is like based on the Friedmans. And you get a bunch of really good effects. It goes on and on and on. This is okay, like AmpLocker is a very, very affordable sim ecosystem from complete suites to you know, stuff like $5 a sim. They have sales sometimes to $5. I mean, it's crazy. Now with NAM also integrated, I can get any amp I want and, you know, use their pedals. Because it's kind of like, they're like kind of Tonocracy, but on steroids. I mean, but Audio Assault is much more than that. They are a very unique company. Their Marshalls now arrived at the top 10 for me. And the reason I believe they're that good is because lately anybody can capture a very good amp, a very unique voice, because the advances of capturing got very, very good now. They have also improved. They have eventually put all their sims into AmpLocker. This company has stepped up their game. They came up with this one Marshall called the ModiFIRE. It's very nice. It goes really great with the Howard Benson sim when I double track. The Crybaby in this is one of my favorite effects, besides the Mahoney, the Send Drive, and all that stuff. I have most of the stuff with physical pedals. And this is a very, very affordable platform. In my opinion, I think the ecosystem's great. I personally don't like ecosystems, you know, where you have to have all your pedals, everything in one place. You use a bus for your effects. Sometimes there are certain things, if you like it. And generally, I just use the effects section before another sim, or the sim with another effects section of another sim, or so on. So you have all these choices of other sims to use the effects from. You can see in the screenshot. I've showed this many times before, you know, the videos. And this is just a glimpse into the world of software environment, of the real environment of guitar, you know, pedals and stuff. Like I said, we're already at the point where we're offering modding and modules so you can exchange your diodes. There's Positive Grid and companies like that, IK Multimedia. They allow you to do things, not just switch from greenbacks to greenbacks on your IRs, but including types of tubes, the diodes, and all that kind of stuff. This is where we're going to go in the future, and as the sound progresses, gets better. And a lot of people do disagree and agree on the sound quality, but we're at the point now where everything's going to sound good. So what are you getting in the sim that you can't get in NAM and Tonocracy that's free? With a sim to dial in, a Marshall, the knobs aren't just like an EQ. They shape the amp's aggression, the articulation, and dynamics. Sweet spot. Dial them in just when they break up and you roll back. You're listening to your picking a combination of. So let me explain. Cap switches on Marshalls, or many amps in fact, they basically boost the upper mids and treble. Okay, that's why they call them the bright. That's clear. Some mods make it switchable between low and mids and whatever. The contour now, or depth presence, almost the same, I guess, or maybe they're not. They basically deal with the low end of the amp. They shape the low end. So imagine having a bell shape or a round, wide bass shape, kind of, you know. If you want a solid bottom, bell shape, you know, stuff like that. This is what you play with. If you need that, for especially for palm muting. And then the treble and presence, these are just, you know, they shape the overall gain structure. You know, like how much gain is going to come out of it, stuff like that. That's how we go. So here's the conclusion, okay? Cheap, it's affordable, has tons of amps, any kind of amp you can think of, even modded amps. You have pedals, you have post effects like, you know, LA2A 1176, Neve, you know, it goes on. And so you got everything at, you know, very, very basic prices. And at the same time, you have signature suite sound excellent. So the fact that it's already free AmpLocker and it comes prestige in some pedals, there's no reason not to try it. So they're very affordable, okay? The only negative thing I see about this is there's still some of the sims that need to be upgraded. My biggest disappointment was the drop pedal they came out with, but it's new, you know? I turn the mix all the way up and then I go down one level. That funny noise. You still hear that noise? Because I do. And this pedal makes a lot of noise. But if you're just playing and having fun, playing songs with friends and writing ideas, this pedal is there and it's really useful. And to have it all like that, you know? And my go-to pitch pedals, the Kawasa Whammy, or if I don't have that, I would probably be using one of my Neuro DSP effects section only. I would shut off the amp and everything else and just go straight to, you know, like a Gohira for changing the pitch or the main thing, or, you know, using it as a whammy or something if you want to do that. If you're into dime bag and playing that kind of stuff and want to get it all insane, it's possible. And like I said, I have all these expression pedals. And so that's it. I hope you like this review. You know, do all the things you do if you like this video. Stay in touch with me. Let me know if you have anything going on, your progress, and let's interact. Because in the future, I'm going to do some live stuff and talk to people directly and interviews and all kinds of stuff like that, which is going to be cool. Thank you for watching. Feel free to browse any of the electroforming jewelry and art by myself and Mia. And thank you for watching again.